Horns up and welcome to Headbanger's Kitchen. My name is Sahil, I'm a death metal musician and I'm also the author of the recipe book called Keto Life. About 2 years ago, around this time, I stopped doing the keto diet. And if this is brand new information for you and you're curious to know what made me stop doing keto, click here on the I button because I already made a video explaining why I no longer do the keto diet. And if you're already panicking about what's going to happen to the keto recipes on my channel, all I can say is don't worry. Even though I've been off keto for 2 years, I've still been regularly uploading keto recipes onto the channel. So don't worry, the keto recipes are not going anywhere. Now, over the last 2 years, I've learned a lot. And being on keto gave me a whole new perspective on diet and fitness that I didn't have before. And the last 2 years being off the keto diet taught me so many new things as well. I guess we're always learning and you never know everything, but there are a few things that I learned that I wanted to share with you guys. Now, before I share the things I've learned, I just want you to know that this is not me talking down to the keto diet. In fact, I think keto is a great way of eating and it has helped so many people. And everything I'm about to tell you is something that you can apply to your keto lifestyle as well. These are just my learnings over the last 2 years. And having said that, I must make it very clear that I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or a dietitian or any of these things. So please take everything I say with a grain of salt, maybe a pinch of salt, maybe a teaspoon, a tablespoon. Heck, take the whole bucket of salt and throw it. Throw it, I say. But jokes aside, I do hope that you enjoy this video and you are able to get some new perspectives, some new ideas, and something that I say in this video might help you. Anyway, enough jibber jabber, let me start sharing. So the first thing I learned is that carbs are not evil and neither is fat. These are just macronutrients, carbs, fats and proteins, and they serve a purpose. They have a function in our diets. I don't like being dogmatic about macronutrients. For so long fat was demonized and we were told to eat low fat, and now it's becoming a whole war on carbs, like, oh, don't eat carbs make you fat. It's like first it was fat is bad, now carbs are bad. I mean, where does it end? Why do we have to be so dogmatic about it? At the end of the day, they are just macronutrients, and how you use them in your diet is completely up to you. But none of them are bad. Carbs have a purpose, fat has a purpose, and protein has a purpose. Our body knows how to break down all of them, and it knows how to use it as well. Protein is the building blocks of muscle and life and everything in the universe, and protein is super important. Similarly, carbs do have their function, as do fats. And I know there are people who are going to argue with me about this, and I say this to you: make your case. You can believe whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I personally just felt and feel that it's better to not get into this dogmatic space of my style is better than your style. I prefer to just look at them as functional and use them in a way appropriate to my goals and my lifestyle. And I think if you look at it that way, you will find a little bit more peace of mind as well. The second thing I learned is food is just food. Some food is a little more nutritious than others, but it is food at the end of the day. I think, again, just like we sort of demonized carbs and we demonized fats, we start doing this to food as well. And yes, as someone who absolutely hates the food at a McDonald's and a KFC and all these fast food joints because it tastes absolutely terrible, and anyone who's got good taste in food knows that these places are awful. But rather than calling foods bad or evil and getting dogmatic again, I just prefer to look at food as, is this food nutritious or is this just some temporary brain pleasure it's going to give me? And the thing is, I think a lot of people get into a space where they guilt themselves about food, and that makes life far worse than it should be. Like, oh my god, you ate an Oreo cookie? That food is evil, it's going to kill you. The truth is, none of these foods are going to kill you. At least not, unless you're eating one of those, like, what is that, the puffer fish in Japan, which can actually kill you, like, or some snake venom. But look, these foods might not be as nutritious. So I like to look at it as, what can I feed myself that is nutritious, and at the same time, I'm not going to deprive myself if I want to eat an Oreo cookie. I don't want to guilt myself, and then, like, you get into this cycle of, like, oh my god, I did something bad, so let me eat the entire packet of cookies because I've already done something bad, so let's make it worse. This cycle. I think many people who have binge eating disorders, they are in a cycle like this, where they eat something that is bad food and they feel guilty about it, and then they're like, well, since I've eaten one anyway and I've done a bad thing, I might as well eat the whole cookie packet. So I prefer to make choices that are sensible. I prefer to pick food that is going to provide nutrition to my body. And if I do eat some food that just gives me pleasure once in a while and has no nutritional value, that's okay. I don't feel bad about it, I don't guilt myself, and this way I can have my cake and eat it too, so to speak. And I think this is what works for me. I'd rather be eating whatever I like in moderation and making smarter choices, because I'm looking at food from this perspective rather than the perspective of this food is good and this food is bad. But if you look at it as, this food gives me a little more nutrition than this one, let's pick this. The third thing I learned is building muscle is more important than losing weight. I did the keto diet because I wanted to lose weight. And guess what? I lost the weight. I lost all of it. I reached my goal weight. And then what? I looked like a dehydrated version of myself. If I was a grape earlier, I became a raisin. And that's when I kind of realized, what the hell am I doing? I lost all the weight, but now what? I still look like myself. So I realized that it's more important to probably build muscle. I'm sure you have all seen a fat person who has lost a lot of weight, but they don't look that good. Like, they look thinner, but they don't look healthier. They look almost starved, like the life has been sucked out of them. And that happens because they lose muscle, they lose fat, they lose water weight, they lose everything. So instead of focusing on, oh my god, I got to get to this number on the scale and I got to lose weight, I like to focus now on building muscle, so that when I do lose body fat, I actually look decent. I don't look like a dehydrated grape. I look like, what's the middle ground of a grape and a raisin? I don't know, maybe I look like a banana. Do bananas have muscles? I don't know. But you guys get my point. So I think for me now, building muscle is a more important goal than losing weight. Working on building muscle will anyway result in me losing weight, because I am going to try and reduce my body fat percentage. But when I do that, I want to have some muscle to show for it. So that is something I learned. The fourth thing I learned is that small sustainable lifestyle changes are smarter in the long run. And what I mean by that is, sometimes we just take things too extreme. I do love extreme music, but I think my diet and fitness is better not being as extreme. And what I mean by this is, we often take very drastic steps, whether it is cutting your calories. Often people will cut excessive amounts of calories, like they'll go from eating 2000 calories a day to 1000 calories a day, or they'll make such a drastic change that they can't sustain it, and then they rebound from their diets. And this is exactly what I mean. So take, for example, you are somebody who eats cake every single day. You eat a piece of cake and you're trying to sort of not do that anymore. You want to make healthier choices in your life, but you just love that cake. Now, you could do what we all do normally, is like, no cake, and stop eating cake completely. But what happens is, you start to feel deprived. You manage for a little bit when your motivation is high in the start. Okay, I'm a new person, I'm not going to eat cake. You manage for a few days, maybe a week. Suddenly one day something goes wrong and you eat cake, and then you go back to that cycle of food guilt. Oh my god, I ate a slice of cake, I was not supposed to eat cake. Screw it, I'm going to eat the entire cake now. And that's what I mean. As opposed to that, if you were to say, maybe just eat half a slice of cake every day. You'd still be getting your cake, but you'd be eating less. Then from half a slice a day, maybe every alternate day. Maybe after a month, you've been able to, eat cake only on the weekends. And then maybe you're able to make smarter choices where you eat maybe more fruits in your diet. So you feel like you're getting that sweet, but you're not eating cake. So that's my thing, right? Like if we make small changes, like for example with exercise, if you were someone who never exercised and you woke up one morning and you're like, I'm going to exercise for 1 hour in the gym every day, I'm going to do cardio for 1 hour every day, and maybe for a couple of days a week you'll do it because you're highly motivated, but that motivation runs out and then you're just like, oh, I'm not going to the gym one day becomes 2 days, 3 days, then you've not gone for a month. But instead, if you maybe just say walked for 10 minutes every day for a week, then made it 15, then 20, then 25, it would become a habit. It would be a small thing you did every day and it would be easier to incorporate. So that's what I mean. It's more sensible for the long run to make these small sustainable lifestyle changes that you can actually adhere to, where you don't require like serious motivation to do it. Like it's difficult to go to the gym every day for an hour, but it's much easier to just take a 10-minute walk inside your house. So that's something I learned and it's something I started incorporating, and maybe it's something you can think about as well, if you are struggling with things. So in a nutshell, small sustainable lifestyle changes are the smarter choice for the long run. And the fifth and final thing that I learned is that exercise is important, not just cardio but weight training as well. I don't know if you guys know my story, but it was a bandmate of mine who did the keto diet and introduced me to it. And then my wife Dipti did it, and then I did it. And both of them lost weight without any exercise. And I was someone who really hated exercising. So I was completely sold on keto because I could lose weight without exercising. However, fast forward to today, my view is totally different. Exercise is so important, not just for weight loss, but for your overall health. And going back to my earlier point, today I'm looking to build muscle. And that is why weight training is important. There are many misconceptions that if you go to the gym and you lift weights, you will look like a bodybuilder. Trust me, you can lift weights for 20 years and you'll still not look like a bodybuilder, because to reach that level of muscle growth and to maintain that is of another league. But what weight training does is it gives your muscles stimulus to grow, which helps you put on more muscles so you don't look like say it with me, dehydrated grape. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. So that is the reason that weight training is so important. You really want to work at building some muscle. And like I said, you're not going to look like a bodybuilder, whether you're a man, woman, or a child, unless you're on steroids and doing like some crazy stuff. But I digress. Now let's talk about cardio. On keto as well, there are a lot of people who say I don't count calories and things like that, which I'm not going to get into. It's a separate discussion. But a lot of people often drastically drop their calories to lose weight. And what happens when you do that is over time your metabolism slows down, which is why you actually want to create a calorie deficit by actually doing cardio so that you're burning more calories. This way you can eat more food and still lose weight and you don't slow down your metabolism. So that is why both cardio and weight training are important. And honestly, I cannot stress this enough. If you don't exercise, I suggest you start. Even if it's walking 10 minutes for a day inside your house, do it now and you'll thank me later. So those are the 5 things that I've learned after being off keto for 2 years. Hopefully you guys found this video interesting, entertaining, maybe even a bit insightful. And I want to end this video saying that the thing I have always maintained and believed is that there's no one size fits all when it comes to diet. Everybody is a little different. What works for one person may not work for somebody else, and it's up to you to find out what is the best diet for you. And the best diet, let me tell you, is the one that doesn't feel like a diet. It's the one you can actually adhere to long term. Remember, small sustainable lifestyle changes. Anyway, folks, that's been enough jibber jabber from me. I will see you on the next episode of Headbangers Kitchen. Until then, cheers and keep cooking. Hey folks, I have an announcement. I'm going to be releasing not one but two keto recipe ebooks. Yup, and you don't want to miss out on these. And to be the first to know when they release, go to my website headbangerskitchen.com and sign up for the mailing list. I will send you an email when the books are out and you can be the first to get them. Anyway,